and I get grilled on social media for saying this because of like fucking race wars, but like there have been slaves for thousands of years. There were slaves in Egyptian times. There were Jews who were slaves. There were Persian slaves. There were white slaves. There were black slaves. Humans have enslaved one another, period. And I like to think of things in extremes because it allows me to think about what's possible. And so the idea that someone else at some other time in history has worked 7 days a week, every hour that they're awake, with the threat not of their own death, but of their children's death, because that's what I would do if I were trying to control somebody. I would take their kids and say, I'll kill them if you don't work. And guess what? They'll probably work. That capacity exists. And so I would think to myself, like, I would try and put myself in that frame so that I wouldn't get into the woe is me cycle and think all these things I could blame for why I'm here right now. Why isn't this working as fast? Like, how is it that these guys are making more money than me? Like, why don't these people give me the respect I deserve? Blah, 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 blah. And just say, like, what can I do now? And then just every hour of every day, well, what can I do now? And so it was, I have to learn how to market. I have to learn how to sell. I have to go to these groups where other gym owners are, and I got to learn their stuff. I gotta go to these seminars. I gotta save up so I can learn some stuff. And that's what I did. And so that's how I got out of it.
And I have to speak to this one because my background is that my family was Armenian. My grandmother was full-blooded Armenian, and Armenians, I think that was the first genocide, right? The idea that we would migrate here from Armenia and they would, find themselves in the Central Valley. They're farmers, field workers, and they were treated less than dirt. My grandmother would tell me stories about being harassed and beat up, and similar to what Alex's mom went through. And I remember she was harassed by a group of girls, and she turned around and poked one of them in the eye with a pencil. And she was just brutal, man. I mean, she encouraged crime. And this is where I'm going to put in a little segment here. This is from Netflix, season 1. Oh, man. This is Pablo Escobar's mom. And she's basically telling him how to be devious and how to, get away with doing wrong. And it doesn't end well. All the men in my family basically cowered. My grandfather tried to confront things. There was shoplifting, there was identity theft, there was, insurance scams, you name it. And my grandmother encouraged it, as kids. I was in a courtroom, very young age, trying to defend my mom, using a credit card that wasn't hers, and, what to say and how to say it. And they got off on it. That was their drug. That was their drug of choice. And, it's ugly stuff. But here's what I would say, that to separate myself and to immerse myself in learning an industry, going to the library, looking at trade publication, reading it from cover to cover, that was my drug. Okay? It was a drug to just learn the vernacular, learn the language, and immerse myself in something that I was interested in. Okay, and then when I'm a marketing consultant, first in the safety arena, and then, moving into, new product launch, employee morale campaigns, it was like I was in all these different industries, learning about their industry, defense industry, transportation industry, high-tech industry. It didn't matter, because I would dive into that company's industry and then immerse myself in their language, and then, look at my industry. And I remember there was Case History, a CD that came out, and it was all these marketing campaigns that my, the top, companies in the industry would promote. Hey, we reached a 42% response rate. We lowered workman's comp from double digit, single digit, whatever it was. And then I would take that out into the field, working with my clients, and tweak it and modify it to fit their needs, right? That's not rocket science. It takes time, it takes work, but it's something that you don't count the minutes, because you're so immersed in that arena. So if you look at the toxic side of things, where I came from and what my family wanted to invest their time and energy, like a drug, you can play on the other side of the fence. And what's amazing is you don't have to look over your shoulder. You can pursue something that you can hold your head high. And I can't say enough about that, approach to life, and especially if you're going to be in business. And you can't put a price tag on it, honestly. But when you're involved with even corporate greed comes into play here, man. When companies have a second set of books and they're not going to be accountable to paying their vendors and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's rough out there. So I experienced on both sides, but that doesn't stop you from pursuing something that you in your heart is pure, and you've got your core values of integrity, honesty, accountability, and enjoy that journey, and be accountable to yourself above all.